Red Corner Boxing. We're in the game.
Yes, yes. Good evening, fight fans. It's Red Corner Boxing. It's Mr. Neutral with another episode of Mr. Neutral Meets. And I'm delighted to announce that tonight's guest is the one and only Mr. Alan Grave. Let's give it up for him. There. Absolutely brilliant to have you on the show, my man. And just how you doing?
I'm really well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. So thanks for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. You was just telling me off camera that you're back from the UK. It takes a bit of time to, get back used to not only the UK time, but the weather as well. It's absolutely shocking out there right now. But before we get into it, this show is sponsored by EasyStories.com for all your local nationwide needs. They handle your goods with care. Allegedly, I'm told with confidence that Boxing Fight Zone are Red Corner's boxing and apparel merchants, and go and check all the links in the bio, including later on's ticket links for Alan's next fight, which will be in Derby, December the 20th at the Valiant Arena. And Red Corner hope to be there. We'll talk about that later, Alan. But first of all, the fans need to know, where did this man come from? He's been on the scene for no more than 2 years, but the story has to be asked well before that about Mr. Alan Graves and the humble beginnings that you came from, sir. Where did it all start?
It all started in Derby. So this fight's called Homecoming because of that reason. Yeah, Derby born and bred for my sins. And yeah, just come from a little council estate in Derby, and spent a lot of my youth doing what young boys do, getting into a bit of trouble, getting into some fights and things like that. But yeah, I was always a big boxing fan, but the discipline of having to watch what you eat and learn how to actually properly throw a punch didn't never appealed to me. And so I didn't take boxing up until I was already into my 30s, so very, very late to the game.
Oh, God, absolutely. And with very few fights under your belt, what would be considered an amateur career or white collar even. But before we get that, I mean, obviously you mentioned that you had as many other British young lads upbringing, getting yourself into trouble, doing the party scenes as we do in our 20s, Alan. I was no different, got myself into a hell of trouble. It's not until later life that we grow up and such. But, you strike me as a very well-grounded young man. Now, during that trouble that you had growing up, did you always believe that you had the potential to do something special?
Yes, I didn't know what it was though, but
Yeah.
I always thought there was that opportunity there, and it wasn't. And at the time when I was younger, I was waiting for it to happen to me, and then as you get older, you realize you have to make it happen. And as soon as I realized that, everything changed, and my life changed completely. So.
Yeah. Was it a particular moment or event or something that sticks out in your mind that was the day that Alan Graves was going to change his life?
I think it was an accumulation of things because it was like a lot of different bosses that maybe probably could have treated me better. But mainly it was about internal feelings in terms of how I felt about myself. And I was like, oh, so now I've got, I used to chase women, and so then you get with a load of women, and then I was like, right, I still don't feel great. And then I would say, oh, I want to be able to drink more than the next guy can drink and win all the drinking competitions in the pub. And then I'd do all that sort of stuff, and then still didn't feel fulfilled. And so it was a bit like, there's something missing. And I think what it was I knew that I was wasting any potential that I had. And that only comes through applying yourself properly, for
Absolutely.
positive means. And so when I eventually decided to do that, that's when life started spiraling in the right way, in a positive way. And so hopefully I can be an inspiration to others to do the same thing as well.
No, absolutely. No, your chosen business, and you know you've been very successful at it. I read somewhere that you're a great believer in reversing the aging process. Was that part of the reason that you took a solid interest in this business?
Yeah, I think I'm a good example of what you can do. Like I had 30, probably let's call it 30 years of battering my body, eating whatever the hell I wanted, whenever I wanted, not working out, not training, um, doing a lot of drinking and a hell of a lot of drugs as well. And just a few years later, I've won a version of a world title at middleweight. So I think part of the boxing journey as well was to prove to people about, look, my body was, although I was 30 years old, my body internally was about 50 years old. And then, just within a couple of years, I've managed to turn that around um, and become middleweight champion of the world. So um, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I don't think I look too bad for 35 going on 36. So, you can reverse your age by making smart decisions.
Smart decisions indeed. I want to welcome all the people who are in the chat and indeed watching here, Rick on the Box on X and YouTube and Facebook. This is the first for us. And one of the questions I got to ask you is when was that day that you decided you you passed 30 and you decided, right, I'm not wasting any more time. I'm going to get something done and get in that ring.
Yeah, so that would have been around 32 when I made that decision. And I'd already started my business and I had some time. We everything's a sacrifice. Whatever you choose to do, you're sacrificing everything else you could do. And I thought about boxing and I had a spar with a friend of mine and it was just a friendly spar, but he absolutely battered me and I was useless. And I thought, I used to think of myself as being the guy that could fight, but really fighting in the streets is not, you know, you maybe you're good for 15 seconds. And even then there's no technique. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And I managed to, through my network, managed to bump into someone that was a trainer. And so I said, come live with me for a few months. I think I'm good enough to have a professional fight and fight at that level. Um, he did that, and I went from fat to fit, and I went from useless to okay. And the one thing that they noticed was that I had a hell of a lot of power naturally, and so that we then stepped up my opposition, and I started to have another fight and another fight and another fight, and then before you know it, I'm in Germany fighting for this world title, and it wasn't the prettiest fight in the world, but as always with my fights, it was a fan favorite because of my style. My footwork isn't, the best. You can tell I've not had any amateur pedigree, and that means I get punched a lot. And so, whilst that's not great for me, it's good for the fans.
It's
And so,
entertaining for fans, yeah.
yeah, it makes the fights all action.
It certainly does. Is it Marcel Rumpler, your trainer?
Yeah, yeah.
He's not.
So
He's quite
Montana
handy
is just
himself, isn't he?
yeah, exactly. So my first three fights that I had, my coach was better than my opponents anyway. So my sparring that I was getting every day was better than my opponents. But yeah, he's the complete opposite of me. He had over 100 Olympic fights. He was 9 times Austrian champion. He's very, very well skilled in the art of boxing. And so he's the perfect person to be able to coach me on this boxing journey.
You've got a profound respect for boxing. I once heard you describe it as pugilism. Not many people do that in this day and age. And but if we're talking camps and your journey towards this middleweight title, tell me about this accident in Dubai, and the effect on your knees.
Yeah, so I was crossing the road. At the time I was living in Dubai, and I lived in an area where there wasn't much traffic at all. And so it's a mixture of this guy. There was a guy driving a bus, and it was a mixture of him not looking and being driving too fast, but also me. I should have looked before I crossed the road, and I didn't. And so yeah, had a fight with a bus, and obviously did not win that one. So yeah, I woke up a couple of days later in the hospital. I'd been in a coma. I had I forget what they call it, but there's like a big thing on the side. It looked like I had three bum cheeks. There's like a big thing on the side of my hip that was just full of liquid. And then obviously there was scrapes and bruises everywhere. And then when they did all the MRIs and everything, they said that the meniscus in my right knee was buggered, and the one on the left knee wasn't great either. But the one in the right knee had like torn all the way through. So we had a lot of issues with that going into the third. I think that was my third fight. We're going into our second fight. I can't remember now. It's mad. It's only 18 months ago, but because we've done so much, it feels like 10 years ago.
I mean, incredible. I mean, at that point, you must have thought, it's all over. Too many problems with the hip, obviously your knees and your head as well. Now, fast recovery, important, great stuff. Now, I need to talk about this jump in class. You went from fighting three guys, journeyman. I'm not going to be unkind, it's who you have to do to build a resume. But I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, Alan Graves, he's 35 now. This man's got to get a step on. And step on you did. And I've got to commend you for that step up to maximize what you think is your potential and your belief system at this time, and to justify it when many people would have thought you're crazy taking on Maximiliano James for the WBF. I believe it's the Continental Belt.
Intercontinental, yeah.
Intercontinental Belt. That was just the fight that got you this this WBF belt against Etim Baramoglu. Now, the James fight itself, in that step up to a 16-0-2 fighter, tell me what's going through your mind. Am I doing this? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Tell me what was going through your mind just before that fight.
I mean, the walk to the ring, I was extremely nervous, I must be honest. Before, in the build up to the fight, I just thought I'd done the first three, and each time camp is hard. Camp is really difficult. And I said to myself, I can keep fighting these. First of all, I don't have time to build a record over 10 years like most people. And I can keep fighting people this level, and I know I'll keep beating them. Or I could just go crazy and step up and fight some amazing person, And I think he was ranked 300 in the world, something like that. But he was 16-0. He'd won titles at the weight below for the WBC, like a Latin American kind of title. And he was just, he seemed like the perfect, impossible test. And so we fought him, and then training went great, to be honest. The camp was fantastic. Because we knew who we were fighting, we could kind of practice for him, which helped. And then on the night, as I'm walking to the ring, just the nerves were incredible. You get a few thoughts like, what the hell am I doing? But you just put it to one side and say, look, I'm here now. All my all my friends and family are here. There was about 1,000 people for that one, so there was a load of fans it was in Dubai, a load of fans there watching. And the first two rounds, it was everybody, the whole place went silent because he was all over me for those first two rounds. Big power shots coming in. I felt fine, but I knew that he was on top of me, and I didn't realize how it looked until I watched it back a few days later. And everyone, no wonder everyone went quiet, because it looked like he was really hurting me. But I was comfortable. I was in my double guard. And then once I got a bit looser and got into the fight, managed to catch him on the chin with the right uppercut and the left hook combination. That one dropped him in the end of the third round, and then I put the pressure on in the fourth round and managed to finish him off as well. So yeah, it turned out okay. It was a good risk, but I don't have time to play it safe. I've got to, every fight now is going to be a huge risk. Every fight I'm going to be the underdog. The world title shot they gave us, it was less than 90 days. It was like, I think it was about a month or
Yeah,
35 days
it
after
was.
the
Yeah.
Maxi fight, and I had to go and do that to fight for the world title. Then I had the summer off, and to be honest, when I had the summer off, it was, is this it now? And then, you know, after a couple of weeks of having a few beers and eating pizza and whatever, I just thought, nah, I gotta, you know, I'm gonna be 60 one day, and then you definitely can't fight. So let's
Yeah.
let's
Welcome to
do
that, guy.
let's do a couple more years now while I can still fight and see where we go. And so, if I win my fight next week, then I'll keep going on to stronger and stronger opposition until I can't anymore. And if I lose next week, then I'll still keep fighting. I'll just step back down in opposition.
Well, look, you claim that title in Germany against all the odds against Ethan Baramoglu, very much a home favourite. And I believe there was some dirty tricks in, beforehand to stop you getting warmed up and all the rest of it. These things happen in boxing. Sharp lessons learned is the quote of the day here. Now, as you said, you had your first four fights in Dubai, and then you had to go to Germany. So you've got that foreign land experience, fighting on foreign soil. You decided you want to bring it back to the UK, and not only the UK but Derby in particular. How important it was for you to not only come home and make a big fight, but actually have it in Derby itself.
Yeah, massive. It was again one of the decisions of when I was thinking about where do we go next and how many more fights. It was, what do I want to do? What are the things that I'd really love to do? And the next thing for me was 100% I want to fight in Derby, because that's where I'm from. That's what made me, wherever I go and choose to live these days, ultimately I'll always be a Derby boy. And so, yeah, very, very important to me to get this on. I also feel like Derby can sometimes get overlooked for big boxing shows, for world-class boxing. There's a lot of white collar or lower level amateur fights that will happen there. But when it comes to the big pro shows, it's London, it's Manchester. They get
Oh,
all the,
your stars have been stolen by the big promoters, isn't it? Fraser Clark, Terry Harper, et cetera, et cetera. I could go on, but yeah, very much in your mind that, but at the same time, you had the foresight to not only, bring it back home, but I love the foundation that you set up, the Alan Grace Foundation, and to help people, as a philanthropist, and absolutely great at what you do. And not only that, I've read some of it. You fed 3,000 workers in Dubai. I mean, not many people would even think of that, let alone do it. And so, got to tip my hat to you, sir. That is an incredible gesture, and not only that, you actually help local charities in Derby as well. Tell us about the one that's most important to you and your family.
yeah. So for this fight in particular, actually, we are giving some money to the Derbyshire Children's Holiday Centre. And so, we did a little social media thing to say, share this post and we'll give sort of more funds and stuff like that. So it was like helping to build the show whilst also giving back, which is great. The Derbyshire Children's Holiday Centre does what it says on the tin, takes kids that cannot afford it, so otherwise wouldn't be able to go on a holiday. And it's nothing crazy, but it's just a break where they get to mix with other kids. They go to Skegness. There's a centre there for them. There's staff that play with them in the daytime and stuff. So it's a really good experience. Everyone from Derby knows someone that has to use it or has been through it. My grandma, it's like 135 years old, the charity. And which is crazy. So it was started in the 1800s, which is mad to think. And my grandma, Joyce, she actually used it about 80 years ago. we don't. We certainly don't come from any money. So now that I've been very fortunate enough to do okay, I think it's my duty to give back.
No, I love that. And it's important to give back to the community, especially where you grew up. Too many people forget where they do grow up, and and the people that got them there and that. And it's great that you always remember. Now let's talk about your opponent, David Kerkmann. Once again, you're stepping up, Alan, because this guy is a little bit better than both Etam and Maximiliano James. This guy's fought for titles, and he's 29-3. He presents another problem altogether. Lots of knockouts. Great power matchup, would you say, with this opponent? And he's going to bring the very best out of you. What motivations have you got to win this fight?
Well, I mean, motivation wise, it's always going to come from within. I just want to perform the best, and it's my coach and my team don't like it when I say it, but it's true. I don't care if I lose. I care if I don't perform well. And so if I come up against Terence Crawford and I think I've performed out my skin, but he beats me, I'm happy with that. I say, you know what, that's fine. What I don't want to do is come away from any fight thinking, man, I didn't do what I could there. And so that's my main motivation, is I want to look back and be proud of what I've done and know that I've given everything. I certainly have done in camp, so there's nothing I could have done more in camp. It's easy to be motivated when you've got these big scary guys in front of you that you're coming up against. Obviously it's a home fight as well, so there's a lot of people that are from my home city that have always wanted to watch me. They've watched me on the TV and all that, but they've never been able to come and see me in person because funds don't allow them to get to Dubai or get across to Germany. So now I'm bringing it to Derby. They've dropped 40 quid on a ticket and they're buzzing and they're wanting to see me. So I've got to perform for them as well. And yeah, I hope that he does bring out the best in me, because he's never even been down. Never mind, stopped or anything. So he's not messing around. He's got a 90% knockout ratio, I think. So he's obviously got heavy hands. And I think that's going to make for a very, very good spectacle at the Valent Live Arena. And so hopefully we can fill it. There's about 200 or 300 more tickets left to go. So yeah, hopefully we can sell those over the course of the next week, and have a fantastic show in front of a sold out arena.
Absolutely. Drop the website where we can get them tickets.
Yeah, so it's alangravesfight.com. If you go to that website, it'll redirect you to the Ticketmaster link and you'll be able to see there which tickets are still available.
Absolutely. Get on it, you guys. And I'm going as well to show support to Alan Graves and the foundation here at Red Corner Boxing. Now, I have to ask you, right? You probably not even think of this, but then again, I think, yes, you are. Say you win this fight, Alan. We don't want to look at the negative side of this. You win this fight. Now, I also seen somewhere that you mentioned a particular boxer that you would love to fight. One Mr. Christopher Eubank Jr. Is that still a dream?
Absolutely. When I won my world title, it was a week, literally the week after he'd beaten Conor Benn in that first fight. And so I think me and him would sell out the O2 straight away, and it would be a really good fight because I'm tailor made for him. I stand in front of him. He can throw his million punches that he throws and all that jazz. But I'm going to be throwing back at him. So I just think it would be a very, very, very exciting fight. And so yeah, I would love to do that. And if not, then we'll get, Terence Crawford's been undisputed at the weight below and the weight above. So he's coming to middleweight. So let's get a stadium in Vegas or something, the MGM Grand or something like that. I'd be happy with that.
This is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Now, when all's said and done, you love a boxing, but that carry on. And do you think, you've seen how promoters make these fights. you know, I get the feeling that you wouldn't be done with boxing when your physical, when the body gives out, let's say, in a few years' time. You know,
Yeah.
I see promoter written all over you, sir. Is that a dream as well?
I think, it's one of them things when once you get into boxing, you start to understand the game a little bit, you see the dark side of it. And you just think I could do a better job here, I could do a better job here. Um, but I think I would, if I was going to continue, I'd probably manage fighters. Um, I think that would probably be my angle of doing things. To try and look after the fighter's well-being, because a lot of the time they get treated as disposable. And so, we've got to remember these warriors are putting their life on the line. We see it. I probably see at least one a month somewhere around the world. A professional boxer passes away because of the sport, and I think people forget that sometimes it is the most difficult sport. Tomorrow night I'm going to go watch the bare knuckle, um, and it's the bare knuckle's good fun. There's a lot of blood, but it's 3 rounds, and it gets
Brutal.
stopped pretty quick because there's like a superficial cut because
Yeah.
obviously bare knuckle is on the head,
Hematomas. Yeah,
and
we
and
cover
and so
them.
and
Yeah,
and
we
then
cover them.
whereas
Sorry, mate. On you go.
in yeah, it's all right. And then in professional boxing, you've got 10 rounds or 12 rounds, and there's gloves on. So there's less blood in general, but you're getting hit to that head over and over and over and over and over again. And those are the things that really accumulate damage. So I think fighters need looking after a little bit more than promoters tend to do. So if I was going to do it, I would probably manage fighters.
Excellent, excellent. Now, just to round off your show, let's talk about your future ambitions. You called El Talilo. That's your nickname. Family man. It's a local slang term for
Yep.
where you train and that. It's that's the ultimate ambition, though. It's to start that family. And pass on a legacy, as it were. How important that is that to you?
I think family is the most important thing, isn't it? It's family's number one. So yeah, my name El Talelo is actually originates from the first two letters of all my nieces and nephews' names. So it's Eli, Tom, Lexi, and Logan. And so that becomes El Talelo, which is now used as a slang term for the family man, which also represents my Mexican fighting style. So the name fits really well. The name fits really well. But you'll see that Mexican style anyway when you come down next Saturday and watch the fight.
I'll tell you what, that Mexican style is something else. I was, I get when people say you were covered up too long, you were covered up too long, but you were comfortable with that, and then you did your thing, of course. So yeah, mate, absolutely fantastic. We got to thank you for dropping by. It's a wonderful story from start to finish, and you're a humble guy as well who helps out not only the people around you. You help out people in lands who've not had a meal, and that is something that as I said before, many people would love to do it, but not many people get off their ass and do it. It just goes to show you the value of the man that you are. We want to thank you for coming on, sharing your story with us. We wish you all the best in the next week. I'll be there, ringside. Uh, we'll cover that fight as well for the fans. Um, and onwards and upwards, sir. Strength and honor, as they say in old Roman times in the gladiator ring. And, it is a gladiator ring, and you will be in there with a big fight. So we wish you all the best. Not that you'll need it, because I see an Alan Gray's knockout within 4 rounds, because he's not, he doesn't muck about, Mr. Graves. If you've been like this chat tonight with Alan, please go and explore not only the Alan Grace Foundation, but get a ticket, come down and watch this man fight. It's entertaining as you'll ever see a boxing match in your life. And tickets are on sale. Just as a further point, Alan, you've given an incentive to the fight as well, I believe.
Sorry?
You've given an incentive about tickets,
Oh,
matching
yeah,
so many sold.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. So once we sell out the arena, I'm giving an extra £10,000 to the charity we spoke about.
That's a beautiful thing. Listen to that, ladies and gentlemen. Get your bums down to Derby. If you live in Derby, make sure you're at the Valiant Arena. Support your local man. He wishes to bring world titles to your backyard, which badly needs it. And boxing in England badly needs it, full stop. We need title fights. They've all been taken away to more glamorous places. And it's about time the likes of Mr. Alan Graves brings it all back to the UK. Thank you, Alan. This program is sponsored by EasyStories.com for all your local nationwide needs to handle your goods with care, and Boxing Fight Zone. There are boxing apparel and merchandise partners. All the links are in the bio, including the tickets for the 20th of December next week at the Valiant Arena in Derby. We'll all be there supporting Mr. Alan Graves. Alan, last word from you, sir.
I just want to say thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate it. If anyone wants any tickets, Alan Graves Fight.
I'm moving. I'm going. I can't stop. I got motion. I'm moving. I'm going. Can't lose focus. I got motion. I'm moving. I'm going.
Red Corner Boxing.